Hi, I'm Rich Slevin with H2O Partners, FEMA's training contractor with the National Flood Insurance Program. And you know, sometimes we know so little about a topic that we don't even know what it is that we don't know. So if that's how it all adds up for you with flood insurance, then spend a few minutes with me talking about my Slevin 7. These are 7 very basic yet essential components to your understanding of the National Flood Insurance Program, and they can also provide a literal gateway to everything else that you might need to know about the Nfip. But here's how basic they are. Number 1 is every building is in a flood zone. Not some buildings, every building. The building that you're in right now, it's in a flood zone. Your home is in a flood zone. It's simply a matter of which flood zone and what is the degree of risk associated with it. Now, before we leave this topic of flood zone, let me bring in item number 2, which says you don't need to be in a high-risk flood zone, something we call a special flood hazard area, in order to purchase flood insurance. Think of it this way. If the program is willing to write flood insurance in the highest risk flood zones, then why wouldn't it write flood insurance in more moderate to low risk flood zones? And of course it will. And remember, every building is in a flood zone. Item 3, building and contents coverages are purchased separately. As an insurance agent, you're probably used to selling property products that automatically package building and contents coverage limits. That's not how we typically do it in this program. Typically, those are separate purchase decisions. Some property owners buy just coverage on their building, some buy it just on their contents, and others buy it on both. Number 4. A federal disaster declaration is not necessary to file a flood insurance claim. Floods that affect as few as 2 properties can meet our definition of a flood. So it's certainly not necessary to have a federal disaster declaration in order to trigger our coverage form. Number 5, the standard flood insurance policy is not a guaranteed replacement cost policy. Simply put, it's not. We do some replacement cost loss settlement in this program, but it is not a guaranteed replacement cost policy. Here's a big one. Number 6, coverage is limited in basements. It's a big one because so many people across the United States have a basement. We have 2 other podcasts that go into great detail about the definition of a basement, as well as what is and isn't covered in a basement. You may want to view those. But generally, personal property coverage is very limited in a basement, and building coverage is primarily confined to major mechanicals as well as structural elements. And finally, number 7 of Slevin 7, time element exposures are excluded. The standard flood insurance policy pays for direct physical loss by or from a flood. And because its focus is on direct physical loss by or from a flood, it means that it excludes such things as loss of access, loss of use, business interruption, and even simple additional living expenses. Because once again, the standard flood insurance policy's focus is on direct physical loss by or from a flood. So there you have it. Slevin 7. 7 very basic yet essential components to your understanding of the National Flood Insurance Program. I'm Rich Slevin, and that's my Slevin 7.